Alright guys, just finished up our 89 Kawasaki Bayou 220. Alright, late in the 80s, 1989 to be exact, Kawasaki made this interesting yet simple ATV. It's got a lot of neat features about it. We didn't go over it when we brought it in. We did a will it run. Let's quickly go over it and kind of check it out. We've got it up and running. It had an electrical issue which killed the electric start. They made this unit for a couple years and then it went, this is a 220 electric start, which you got to figure in 89 they were probably going against you know, the 250 SX four-wheeler from Honda, which is yet another simple proven platform from the three-wheelers. But this, interestingly enough, and this is the first one I've ever seen, but a couple of things. I like the simplicity. We do not have an upper and lower control arm like we're used to, you know, conventional wishbone suspension. We've got a singular lower A-arm here, and then we've got a fixed knuckle, which is, if you're a Ford guy, I'm sorry, but if you are, then you'll know the old twin I-beam suspension that Ford had. When you hit a bump, the top of the tire is going to toe in and then toe out, depending on where the suspension is, because the knuckle is fixed, the kingpin is fixed. It's not a terrible design. It doesn't ride as smooth as a wishbone. You get a lot more uneven tire wear because of that, because the tire is constantly going in and out of camber. But it's a strong, proven system, and as you see, they've reinforced these lower bars or A-arms really well from the factory, so they know that there's a lot of stress there. We've got drum brakes. As you see, there's cables going to both of these, as opposed to hydraulic brakes, which was available in the Honda. Someone's put new tires on this one. Someone has painted these racks. They've taken them off. They've done a good job. There's no overspray on the plastic, thank goodness. They tried to do the right thing. They took them off, they painted them, they put them back on, and you can tell this because the bumps, the dents have been painted, and so that's how you know that they've been repainted. Plastics are in really good shape. That's the reason I bought this machine. White is a unique color. Apparently 89, a lot of machines were going white. We know this, our 89 Kawasaki KD80X is also in white, and so that was pretty popular color that year, or for that model. We've got shaft driven. Let's just go here to the back. That answers the next big question. Suspension. What we've got here is two lower links. They're triangulated. They are tapered in the front, and we've got dual shocks or coilovers here on the rear, which I got to tell you guys, this machine rides very, very smoothly. It has a lot of body roll, which it's going to take some getting used to. I've put it in a few corners, and the machine just wants to roll over. Not tip over, but the body wants to roll. There's a lot of suspension play in this design, and that is because the rear axle has so much articulation or room to move around, as opposed to a fixed rear axle where it only goes up and down. This actually has a lot of left and right body roll to it. We've got a trunk here on the back. It's completely inaccessible because of this rack. I don't know what they were thinking. Yeah, everyone that I've looked at online, just kind of getting a better understanding of this machine, this cover is missing, and I guess that's because it's a pain to get off and a pain to put back on. Seat latch is very Suzuki. I don't know who had it first, but this whole pull system, you pull a cable here and the seat pops off. I think they were working in a budget, and so they did things cheaply, and I push down on the seat a little bit at the same time I pull this up. And that allows it just to take the tension off the seat, and the seat pops right off. Real traditional. Everything we've always worked on is real similar. Our battery hold down is this direction. You know, everybody else's battery has to go that direction, but you know, Kawasaki wants to be different. Air filter box here, of course. We've got a starter relay, which is acting up on this machine, and I've already changed. We talked about when the machine came in, it had no start circuit, and the reason was because the starter relay was completely missing. Somebody had taken it out, and I did some searching, and I found that standard, which this is, I believe, a Mopar part. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Mopar starter relay plugs right into the factory harness. It's a direct fit. It is the correct one, if you will. It works, and if it works, then it's right. I'll put a link to that in the description. We've got a plastic fuel tank in here. This tank, I cleaned the tank out. It was completely empty when I got it, which is great, but we did rinse it off. This machine now has electric start working with the battery and the relay. The previous owner put a new petcock on here and an aftermarket carburetor. Back to the suspension. Look how much roll is in this thing. And that's not wore out swing arm bushings. That's how much suspension with just me, you know, yanking on the handlebars here. You can imagine with a 200-pound rider going around the corner, this thing really does some leaning. But we've got pull cord backup, and I'll always like that. If you've got an electric start machine, I like having a physical, manual, additional way to start the machine, because as we know, batteries die and electronic starters go out. As for the other side, it's very typical of everything else we've worked on. We've got a 2-clutch system. We've got our oil filter here, which we've already changed the oil on this machine. Cable operated brakes. This was a clean machine when we bought it. All we needed to do was get it running. And we did. We did a wheel it run on it. We got it running with the help from Uncle Larry. He gave us an old school trick. We put a little oil in there. We got our compression up. It fired off. Now it runs and drives fine, no issues. Machine went ahead and serviced this machine, oil change, checked the rear differential. All right, guys, here's a new tool. You know, when I'm placing these orders online and I'm looking for you know, replacement parts and so forth, I like to grab a new tool every now and then. It makes my life a little simpler here in the garage, and you know, kind of interesting. Technology's gotten so cheap. If you ever wondered how a ring and pinion works, I wanted to check this one out. Always, you know, as part of a good service, we wanted to check fluid level. Fluid is a little low on this. It's not bad. Everything looks good. Look here, your ring and pinion seems to be running really smooth. It's picking up plenty of oil, so it's staying lubricated. But the level should be raised a little bit. But if you're interested in, you know, I mean, wow, just the clarity. I can't wait. I wish I'd had this tool when I started this particular project. I would have liked to have put it down the cylinder and checked out the cross-hatching in the cylinder when I was fighting a low compression. But yeah, these are cheap. This is like a $29 endoscope. It's got plenty of wire here. There's a link in the description if you want one. I'm just testing this one out. As you see, this is the first time using it, but I'm pretty impressed. Topped it off. It was a tad low, but what do you expect from 1989? All the lights work. A couple things we did, you know, I try to maximize our dollar. So we got a replacement choke lever here, and we got rid of the metal thumb throttle. Picked this up from PS&N. You'll find them on eBay. They do a lot of factory original parts. They basically part out thousands of ATVs. So we got the exact correct OE thumb throttle, plug and play. You didn't have to worry about it. It looks like it's supposed to, because this is what it's supposed to look like. Everything seemed to be good. The previous owner put the tires on it, so we're going to take advantage of that. The previous owner also put brakes on it. Cables, that cable's new. Brakes work really well. I'm pretty sure they're new shoes all the way around. Just, you know, somebody fixed this up at some point in time and then parked it, and that's why it looks as good as it does. It is an older machine. It's not going to have the resale value as a Honda. Hondas just hold their value the best. I'm sorry, guys, if we buy, fix, and sell machines here, and that's kind of how we afford to do what we're doing. This machine I got for $300. Brought it in. We got it running with no money spent. You know, more than the $300 to buy it. But you can't take it to market like that. If you are expect to get top dollar, you're going to have to do some work, and you're going to have to clean it up, and you're going to have to, unfortunately, spend some money. And one of the things that someone is going to want is electric start to work. Selling a machine where the electric start is not working is never going to bring the money like pushing a button and hearing that motor fire up. So where are we on the Bayou? So here we are, 1989 Bayou. We paid $300 for the machine, $45 for the battery, $19 for a starter relay, $9 for the choke lever. That brought us up to $373, and we were doing really good. And I felt the clutch slip a little bit, so I wanted to go ahead and go through it. So I went ahead and did a clutch. I do have a starter for it. I went ahead and bought one, but I ended up not needing it. I'm going to let that go to the new owner. It's $51 to me. I'd return it, but unfortunately it came as a kit, and I can't break up the kit to return it. So $51 for a starter. The replacement throttle from PS&N was $27. Oil and filter, don't forget that. And also with our clutch parts, we also got a gasket for the side cover. Grand total $540 real dollars, and that's dollars spent. That's, you know, you want to put in lunch and gas and electricity and all that, yeah, it goes up, but $540 for the machine and the parts. Turnaround time on this one's a couple of weeks. Just work at my leisure, and this is already out on Marketplace. So let's talk about Marketplace. Before I bought this machine, I knew this machine was never going to be a $2,500 entry-level ATV. They're just not bringing that kind of money. I will be lucky to get $1,500 for this one. I've got it out on Marketplace now for $1,800. Letting somebody talk me down to $1,500. I think I could sell it by morning at $1,000. But $1,500 would be a great purchase price for the next person to buy this machine and use it around the property. You know, it's 5-speed with reverse auto clutch. It has a new clutch, has a new battery. Those are great selling points. Again, the previous owner put new tires on it all the way around. The machine shows excellent. It does show some wear. The white plastics are always going to show stains more so than other colors. I'm not going to wet sand this. I'm not going to put the hours into this machine. It runs, drives, it stops. It does everything it's supposed to do, and it doesn't have any leaks. And so now's the time to sell it. So $540 input into parts. You know, we sell it for $1,500 as a great payday. We put a little bit in the bank, and we'll go buy something else and we'll do it again. It's using the same tools over and over and over, and the knowledge we learned from the previous machine to fix the next machine. And that's what it's all about. And that's what I'm trying to show y'all guys. It's nothing necessarily difficult to do. It just take your time, go slow, use the free online information, the manuals and the forums, and the information is out there to fix these old machines. So that's what we're showing you here today is, you know, take the steps, assess what you have. Don't put good money after bad. I kind of feel bad that I bought that starter and didn't need it, but the new owner, you know, I can't send it back, so I might as well pass it forward. The odds on me having another one of these in the shop, it will probably never happen. This is the first one I've ever seen. But it's a really cool machine. If you're inquisitive about these things, this is really a lot like the Honda. We can kind of scrutinize it, the way that the output of the drive shaft is. This is a shaft driven machine. Your recoil is in the same location. We have basically your cam adjustment here. Everything is the same layout as the Honda, the same on the clutch. On the other side, I will insert some footage from putting the clutch in here. This has the same 2 separate clutches. You have a takeoff clutch or a primary clutch here. You have a secondary clutch here, exactly like the 185S's and all the 200cc engines from Honda. If you can work on one of those or have ever seen one of those, this is exactly the same thing. The key points here that you need to know is there is a bolt inside the oil filter here that holds this cover on. So you do have to remove the oil filter to get that cover off. When I did this, I don't know if I pointed it out in the video or not, but take this skid plate, take this 13mm bolt out, take this 14mm bolt out here, and let this skid plate swing down. Take the 3 12mm bolts out, take the foot peg off and set it down. Pull this spring off of the brake pedal and let the brake pedal swing out of the way, and you can pull this cover right off. Very easy, very straightforward. Not a difficult job at all. Certainly something you can do. But that's it. This one's going to market, and I'm ready to move on to something else. So I just wanted to kind of wrap this one up. Things to look for when you are looking to buy a machine, four-wheeler or three-wheeler or whatever. You need to find the best looking machine you can that's broken in a way that you feel that you can fix it. What I mean by that is, if you are just starting out and cosmetics is your thing, and that's where you want to start at, then buy something already running. Buy something that you can put grips on and reupholster a seat and put tires on and flip it and get ahead and start learning as you go. If you want to get something that has a motor that's a no start situation like this one, buy something that looks 100%. Do not go and buy a basket case. I will not buy a basket case. There are too many opportunities for a bolt or a shim or something to be missing, and it may be a bolt that's special that you may have a hard time finding, and you may not realize it till you put the motor all back together and stick it back in the frame, and then it doesn't run and you don't know why, or the transmission doesn't shift and you don't know why. I'm encouraging you not to buy a basket case. If you're just starting out, buy something that's already 100% looks to be together and just doesn't run, or maybe it runs but needs some heavy cleaning, you know. And something you need to know, these plastics, they look cheap as in, well, they're just plastic. They can't be that much, right? You'd be mistaken. You can spend $1,000 on plastics on a 30-year-old or 40-year-old ATV real quick, and doing that, you will bust the budget. You will not make a profit. So if your plan is to buy something and make a profit, you got to spend your money carefully and not overdo it. This machine is pretty straightforward. Once we got it running, I knew it was a home run, and we weren't going to be spending a lot of money on the pretty, because it was already pretty. It already had good tires. The racks had already been painted. This is an original seat, and I mean, it is in amazing condition. There's no tears in it that I see. There's a little worn area right there, but I mean, it's just an amazing seat. The grips look good. This particular machine didn't need any pretty, you know what I mean? It just needed to run. And of course, we did spend some money to make it run and to make that electric start work. So you can see how quickly this can snowball and really get out of control. Remember, you've got to know what the machine costs before you buy it. And what I mean by that is, what does that machine cost running and riding? And then that will tell you how much you can spend on it, and then how much money and parts you can put in it and still turn a profit. I know this machine should sell quickly for anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500. That being said, we've only got, what do we got in it? We got $540 in it, so we're really good. You know, somebody's wanting an inexpensive four-wheeler to just beat around the property on. This would be a great one to do that. So let's hear it fire up, and let's get it out of the shop.